She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry or beg. When the divorce papers slid across the table, she simply picked up the pen and signed her name without a single argument. Everyone in the room thought she was broken, defeated, and finally giving up after years of betrayal and silence. Even her husband smirked, convinced he had won. But what no one realized was that her calm wasn't weakness. It was a warning. Just hours later, whispers began spreading across the city. At one of the most exclusive restaurants, a woman who looked strangely familiar was seen dining under soft lights, laughing quietly, seated across from a man powerful enough to make billionaires nervous. Cameras weren't allowed, but the staff noticed the way he leaned in, the respect in his eyes, and the private room reserved under his name. The same woman who had walked away from a broken marriage without a fight was now stepping into a world of wealth, influence, and long-hidden truths. This story isn't just about divorce or betrayal. It's about silence that speaks louder than words, secrets hidden in plain sight, and a woman everyone underestimated. Because the question isn't why she didn't argue, it's who she really was all along, and why that dinner changed everything. To understand how that quiet dinner became the center of so many questions, you have to look back at the life she lived before the divorce. For years, she had been known only as the loyal wife who stayed out of the spotlight. She handled the home, supported his career, and ignored the rumors that followed him to every business event. Friends said she was too soft, too trusting. What they didn't see were the late nights she spent reading financial reports, the careful notes she kept, or the way she listened more than she spoke. The marriage didn't fall apart overnight. It cracked slowly through cold conversations, missed anniversaries, and a growing distance that no apology could fix. When the affair finally came to light, it wasn't shock that filled her, it was clarity. She asked for nothing in the divorce. Not the house, not the money, not even an explanation. That decision confused everyone, including her husband, who believed her silence meant she had nothing left. But silence can hide preparation. While he celebrated his freedom, she made a single phone call after leaving the lawyer's office. The man she met that evening wasn't a stranger from chance. He had known her past, her patience, and the truth she carried. As the waiter poured the wine and the door closed behind them, a larger story began to unfold, one that hadn't reached the courtroom yet. From the outside, that private dinner looked like a sudden twist of fate. But inside the room, every word carried weight. The billionaire across the table wasn't there to impress her with wealth or power. He spoke carefully, asking questions about the years she spent beside her husband, about the deals she witnessed, and the signatures she remembered being rushed through late at night. She answered calmly, choosing her words the same way she had chosen her silence during the divorce. Nothing was rushed. Nothing was emotional. It was all intentional. Across the city, her ex-husband was enjoying his victory, unaware that his name was quietly surfacing in conversations he could not control. Board members whispered. Old partners hesitated. A few long-forgotten contracts were suddenly being reviewed again. He felt the shift but couldn't explain it. He assumed it was bad luck, never once thinking it traced back to the woman he believed he had defeated so easily. Meanwhile, she returned to her modest apartment, living the same simple life she always had. That was the part that confused people the most. If she was connected to a billionaire, why hide? But patience had always been her strength. Each day brought another small sign that the truth was moving closer to the surface. And as the distance between her past and future narrowed, one question lingered in every shadowed room: how much did she really know? And who would pay the price when she finally decided to speak? The days that followed were filled with quiet maneuvering, each move calculated with precision. She wasn't seeking revenge, at least not in the way anyone imagined. Instead, she was gathering pieces, observing reactions, and letting the tension grow without ever showing her hand. Her ex-husband noticed small changes: missed calls from old associates, unexpected meetings he wasn't invited to, subtle hints that someone was quietly shifting the balance of power he thought he still controlled. At the same time, the billionaire she had met that night became more than a dinner companion. He provided guidance, resources, and connections she could never have accessed alone. Yet their relationship remained shrouded in mystery, the city only catching glimpses through rumors and subtle signs. The more people underestimated her, the stronger her position grew. Then came the night that would change everything. Invitations arrived for a gala that both her ex-husband and the most influential figures in the business world would attend. She knew she couldn't be seen publicly with the billionaire just yet, but she also knew that the room would be thick with anticipation, suspicion, and unspoken truths. Every glance, every whispered comment, and every calculated smile would carry weight. As the evening approached, the tension was unbearable. People were watching, waiting, and wondering, was she the same quiet woman who walked away from her marriage, or was she about to reveal something no one could have predicted? The gala started like any other high-profile event: glittering chandeliers, flowing champagne, and the city's most powerful faces exchanging polite smiles and hidden agendas. She moved through the crowd with calm confidence, appearing like the same quiet woman who had signed her divorce papers without a word. But behind her composed expression, she was calculating every interaction, every glance, and every whispered conversation. Then came the moment that no one expected. Her ex-husband, already full of pride from his victory, spotted someone approaching from across the room, a woman he had never seen before. Introduced as an influential investor with interests that overlapped with his own business empire. He smiled, thinking it was a routine encounter, but the truth hit like a shockwave. She wasn't just an investor. She had quietly acquired critical shares in one of his key companies. The room seemed to shift around him, whispers spreading faster than he could process. He froze, realizing too late that the quiet woman he dismissed was orchestrating moves that affected not only his wealth but also his reputation. Meanwhile, she remained calm, seated at a discreet corner with the billionaire by her side, watching the unfolding tension with a knowing smile. Every eye in the room was now on her, questioning who she really was and how far she was willing to go. The stakes had just risen, and the night was far from over. The room was electric with tension as her ex-husband tried to regain control, moving through the crowd with forced confidence, only to find doors closing figuratively and literally around him. Just as he approached a group of influential partners, she stood, calm and composed, and addressed the room. Her voice was quiet but carried through the chatter, commanding attention. She revealed the truth everyone had missed. She hadn't been passive or defeated during the divorce. Every decision, every silence, had been part of a plan to reclaim control over her life and secure her independence. The revelation stunned the room. Her ex-husband's expression shifted from disbelief to panic as he realized the shares she had quietly acquired gave her influence over decisions he had always assumed were his alone. Whispers turned into murmurs of admiration and shock. The power balance had shifted entirely in her favor. The billionaire at her side offered a subtle nod, the silent acknowledgement of a partnership built on trust, strategy, and timing. Just when it seemed her victory was complete, an assistant approached with a discreet envelope. She opened it to discover another layer she hadn't expected, a letter from a mysterious source, revealing that even her carefully planned moves had been anticipated. The game wasn't over, and the stakes were higher than ever. Her calm smile didn't falter, but the audience knew one thing: she was ready for whatever came next. She didn't panic. Instead, she folded the letter carefully and slipped it into her clutch, a small smile playing on her lips. Every challenge she had faced, the betrayal, the divorce, the public assumptions, had prepared her for this moment. She had learned that true power wasn't about wealth or titles, but about patience, strategy, and knowing your own worth. Her ex-husband, humiliated yet still defiant, realized that underestimating her had been his greatest mistake. The room slowly returned to its rhythm, but the respect for her was unmistakable. Friends, colleagues, and even rivals saw her differently now, not as a quiet, defeated woman, but as someone who could turn silence into strength and calm into influence. The billionaire beside her raised his glass in a quiet toast, acknowledging not just her achievements, but the journey she had endured to reach this point. She had won, but on her own terms. And that was what made the victory meaningful. As the evening drew to a close, she stepped out into the city lights. Feeling the weight of the past lift and the possibilities of the future ahead, she had turned a painful ending into a powerful new beginning, proving that resilience, intelligence, and patience can rewrite any story, even one that seemed already lost.